For this video, I'm going to do a few minor manipulations in Excel. I'll show you how to do that. I have four data sets, A, B, C, and D, and they have a bunch of numbers. And we're going to use Excel to figure out the minimum, maximum, median, mean, standard deviation. Before I do, let me show you a couple things about Excel. Right now, the cell number A7 is selected. It has the green box around it. The column A is highlighted, row 7 is highlighted. You'll also see over here in the name box, it says A7. If you select a different cell, now I selected C5, column C is selected, row 5 is selected. You can also see where in the name box C5 was selected. If I want to enter something in here, I could click on the cell where I have what, and then I can type whatever. That'll work. You'll also notice that as I'm typing, up here in the formula bar, it also starts to type. And so I can add more things up there. And if you can't see what's in there very well, you can expand it just a little bit or make it shorter or whatever you want. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to hit escape, and that will get rid of everything that I started out with the box. And a couple minor things. If you want to change the format, you can select the whole column. You come up here and change it to something that you want. How about I'll put in Arial. Arial narrow, that sounds nice. So that's a column. You can do the same thing for a row, Arial narrow, and you'll notice the font changes. If you want to pick everything, you click this little box up in the upper left-hand corner, that's select all, and now I'll give it all Arial narrow. And I'm going to center it. Might look a little nicer that way. I'll put a box here. These are just little formatting things that doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's look at how we figure out what the minimum is for a data set. And it's easy if you look at set A, 3, 4, and 8. It's obvious the smallest one is 3. That's fine. Let's do that anyways. Equals, the formula is min. So I'll type in min for minimum. And I put a parenthesis, and then it wants a number of variables that you put into the formula. And you can type in 3, 4, 8, and that will give you the minimum value. That's one way to enter information. You can also have a selection of cells. So I'm selecting these cells, B1 through D1. The colon means everything in between. You could select any range of cells you want, even cells that do not have numbers, and it'll only compare the cells with numbers as numbers. That's one possibility. Another way is you can select an entire column, or you can select an entire row. And I'm clicking on the column heading or the row heading. Just don't have a formula that goes over itself. It'll kind of freak out and give you an error message. So I picked minimum of value for 1:1. That means everything inside of row 1. And you close off the parenthesis, hit enter, the formula takes. If you don't want to close off the formula, it'll do it for you. So you'll notice it's a little shortcut. I didn't close off the parenthesis, I hit enter. And on my version of Excel, it takes it just fine. Sometimes a little dialog box comes up and says, we think this is what you want to do. And you just click OK, or you hit enter again, and there you go. If I want to copy this formula all the way down, you notice there's no dollar signs in here. Dollar signs will anchor a cell. It's not anchored, so it's a relative copy. So I could, if I hit Control C, that copies the cell. I go to another cell, Control V, and that pastes it. And you'll notice that this has the correct row in here for D. That's because this cell, it is 1, 2, it's 3 rows below what was before. You'll notice the selection is 3 rows below. So if I, for example, do equals that cell right there. So I'm in H6, I'm saying copy everything in cell C6. I copy that, I go one cell over and I paste it. You'll notice it's now D2. So it's a cell right next to it. If I go the one right above it, let's see, I'll do one more over. And now that one's E2 because I pasted one cell over. It'll take the value from one cell over what was originally copied. Right here, it has a value of 0 because there's nothing in there. It treats it blank like 0. So that's how the relative copying goes. And it's really handy if you set this up the right way to be able to copy things very quickly. And so I copied and pasted with the Control C, and then Control V is paste. You can right click to copy. There's copy, and then right click to paste. And there's all these options you can do with pasting. You can paste with the formulas and formatting, and there's all these transpose, all these things you can do. And another way to copy is when you have a cell, let's see, I have the cell selected, so it's got the box around it. There's a little blocky thing in the bottom right hand corner. If you grab that, left click, you can drag down and it will copy that for you. You can also, so that's one way to copy. There's another way to copy. I'm going to do the formula for maximum value. It's max. I'm going to grab everything in here. So now the maximum for data set A is 8. Instead of dragging and copying, I'm just going to double click. And you'll notice that drops all the way down. And that's convenient. It'll drop down as far as there's something over to the left. Like, but if I go over here, where mean, that's the average function to compute the arithmetic mean of that. You notice it's 5. So if I double click, nothing happens. Oh, it does happen. It goes all the way down here. Oh, probably because it remembered what we did before. But sometimes it might go down further or might not go down at all. I guess that we got lucky. Equals median. Let's compute the median formula. That's the middle value of everything. Let me put that in there. I'll copy that all the way down. Then standard deviation, the formula we use for this class is SDEV.S, standard deviation of the sample. I'll pick all of row 1. I'll copy that down. This has some numbers that go way out there. I'm going to change the formatting. If you right click, you can go to format cells. And then I'm going to put it as a number. 2 decimal places looks good. There's no commas, but anyways, I like to put the comma on there so I do have numbers that are 1,000 or larger. It makes it easier for me, makes it more readable having those commas in there. So now we have this data set. And there's other things you can do, like for example, I'll select those and then the generic Microsoft bolding is Control B, or you can click on this thing up here. I'll make this one bold as well. It just makes it look a little bit nicer. Or you could even add colors to these cells. I'll give it a light gray color just to sparkle it up a little bit. Oops. Once you have a color selected, you come in here, that'll give you the default color. And so now you've got this pretty little graph or pretty little table that has all the values that you need.